All right, let's talk a little bit about bone and tissue formation. One common thing between the both is that they both need a force and they need a directionality component to it. And of course, we start that with the SAID principle, and that is specific adaptation to imposed demand. So what that means is your body, the stuff within you, adapts to the demands placed upon it. Um, I like to go over this. For some of us who live in Southern California, people say like, "Oh, we are soft. We can't handle the cold." You're right. I think they're right, but we've based on the climate we live in, we've adapted to that too. So just think about that. Anytime you think of specific adaptations to impose demand, is this your body's going to get good to adapting to the environment, to the stressors we place upon it. So with bone, that comes with just putting force into the bone for the bone to be strong, right? So if you're doing physical activity and you ride your bike a lot, you swim a lot, you're not gonna get a ton of load to the bone. So things like walking, running, sprinting, jumping, landing, resistance training, that's gonna help load the bone a little bit better. So real quick, I want to go over the tennis example. So tennis players, dominant arm if they're right-handed, that bone is denser on that side because they use that racket a lot, right? So that's an example of the SAID principle. The tennis players adapting to the demands of using a tennis racket, and even though that weight of a racket isn't that heavy, they've used that arm over and over and over and over, right? Um, so and I think tennis also is a really good sport to play because you are getting those gravitational forces in different directions to help load the lower body too. So you're getting some bow loading there. You're jumping, you're landing, you're sprinting, you're cutting. So tennis can be a good activity to help with the formation of bones. So while you have Wolff's Law for bone, we have Davis's Law for soft tissue. So that's things like your tendon, your fascia, your connective tissue, everything outside the bone. So kind of similar here, right? Just because you get good at bench press with that perfect grip doesn't mean you get a better bench press with a wider grip, whatever. So anytime you're training tissue, you also want to train add some variation to it. So that's training in multi direction. So if you got good at squatting with your feet parallel all the time, you should probably add some variation like lunges, squatting the bar differently, moving your feet a little bit differently. So your tissues are also going to adapt based on the demands you place on it. So this is why if you're working with young athletes, or you're an adult athlete, you want to give yourself variation into what you do. So just not doing the same sport, not the same activity. So if you can, try to do different activities to help you grow tissue and have strong tissue in all directions. So I try to make this a little bit more simple, right? Pretty much for bone and tissue, you want different speeds, you want different directions. So it's the same thing, a similar thing for bone and for tissue, right? So just doing adding some variation into what you do, not just doing that same thing over and over. While your body will get good at that same thing you're doing over and over through the SAID principle, you also want to get good at other things so you limit yourself from different injuries, right? So just yeah, do more, add more variability into what you do, and then that'll be a good way to again Wolff's Law for bone and do Davis's Law for soft tissue.